I am here at the yellow Aster Butte Trailhead, and I'm gonna make my way up to the butte. I've never done this hike before, but I figured what better way to end the month of July in what has very well been the most active month I've ever had in my entire existence. Yep, at the ripe old age of 50, I've managed up to this day, from July 1st through yesterday, 140,000 vertical feet through cycling, hiking, and running. And so today is kind of just a way to soak in some new scenery and just enjoy myself and bring you along on this adventure. And there could be some weather coming in, so it's gonna give me a little bit of incentive to kind of pick up the pace a little bit. Not too much, but enough to where I can make sure I have a full day on the mountain. Or I wouldn't say full day, but adequate enough for me to see if I can reach the summit. And so right now I'm on the first part of this trail, which is supposedly the steepest part. So yes, the first 1.5 miles, supposedly you gain around 1,700 vertical feet. And so that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm not even a tenth of a mile in, but this is what the views that you're greeted with from the start. And my guess is you're going to be going up over that mountain you see right in front there. This first section of the trail, you are greeted with a lot of plant life and flowers lining the trail. So if you're in shorts, be prepared to be rubbed by these leaves, which actually kind of feels good. You've got some of them have a fuzzy feeling to them. And the cloud cover is coming in, and I don't want to be up there with a giant thunderhead looming, so we'll see how this goes. But making my way on this trail, lots of lush green to keep you entertained. And there's Mount Baker off in the distance, a little bit of haze, some smoke from some wildfires. All right, onward I go. I'm 2/3 of a mile in, and the trail has gotten into a forested area, and I find some interesting plant life here. These little things, those, I don't know what they are, but their leaves look similar to orchids. And so whenever I'm on a trail and I see these plants, I like to refer to them as baby orchids, because their leaves look very similar. Lots of baby orchids. Now I don't know if that's what they actually are, but I like to call them that. So trail for the most part has been pretty good. I'd say it's relatively runner friendly. Not too many rocky sections, but yeah, here it is, a little forested section. So it looks like I've entered into a meadow up here, and there is a junction, and I want to go left at the junction. And so it looks like I will have made it. Well, let's see how I'm doing for time, but this is really magnificent up here. Yeah, there's even still some snow up there. It's a nice little snow patch. That would feel good on a really warm day. So luckily, even though these clouds look a little spooky, they are providing some relief from the heat. Okay, let's see where this goes. After that meadow section, the trail steepens once again, and now I'm treated to more plant life. You're never really truly alone, because in essence you're essentially surrounded by millions of green living beings, and those would be plants, and of course some of them have their flowers. Now it's almost been 1.7 miles and I still haven't reached that junction. Sometimes those signs at the trailhead are not very accurate with their mileage. So that's one thing to keep in mind, because it says one way to the, I think the false summit is 3.7 miles, but all trails it says 4.1 miles. And look at that, trail is going up, up, and up. But if I did manage to hit that junction, well, I'm going in the right direction, and that is left. As long as you're going leftward at a junction, that's how you reach yellow Aster Butte. And the trail is really getting steep up here. Well, here's the junction at 1.77 miles. If you're going to Tomyohi Lake, I think that's how it's pronounced, well, you've got some serious uphill ahead of you. If you're going to Yellow Aster Butte, in which you go left, then you get a little bit of a reprieve. And so that's the junction. So you know you're going in the right direction if you find yourself having some reprieve. If you find yourself with a relentless uphill after the junction, well, you're headed to the lake. These clouds don't look so bad now, but I'm gonna kind of take a breather on this flat section, because I wasn't necessarily going all out, but I was definitely picking up the pace on that first section, just because I want to make sure that I do beat those potential afternoon storms. All right, so break into a nice little mellow jog here, because this is a good spot to make up a little bit of time, but not pushing myself. Just kind of enjoying the lush greenery. Ah, yeah, look at all these plants. There may be no one around, but you are never alone. And of course, you've got your critters, some small, some big. You can see a junction way back over that direction, and then you cross over this gully here, nice and wide open, and then back into some trees. Looks like the sun's gonna be back out, so I'm gonna have to stop and put on some sunscreen. And one thing I don't like about using sunscreen, at least when putting it on my face and forehead, is it drains into my eyes. So I kind of hope that my sunglasses will block out the sun on that part, so that way I don't have to worry about putting sunscreen on my forehead, because that gets to be a real pain. Okay, so I'm going to find myself a nice shady spot to stop, hydrate a little bit, and then continue on. I'm 2.5 miles in, and my guess is maybe that's the summit up there. I have no idea as of yet, but here are some snowfields. Oh wow, this is a really cool section of the trail. Definitely a good area to take some pictures. Oh yeah, nice little snowfield here. If you're feeling really adventurous and you haven't gotten in your ski turns for the month, well, this would be quite the jaunt to get some skiing in. But after all, 2.5 miles, it's not that bad. As a matter of fact, I may have some ideas for my August turns. I don't know. I think there's better spots than this, but I gotta make sure and see, because I gotta know which way I'm going here. Interesting. All right. Oh yeah. And there's some running water, which is going to be nice to refill my water filter on the way back. Look at that. So I'm going to take a wager, and that's the top there, but I guess I'll find out soon enough. So yeah, I see people up there. So that is a summit, or at least a false summit, and then there's one over to the right that looks pointy, and I think that's the one that involves a scramble. But that's about 800 vertical feet, so it's not too bad. Maybe a little bit more, but let's see if I can beat that weather, because there's a cloud forming overhead, and I don't want that to bulge up and be ominous, because that would put a damper to my day. Okay, so maybe that's the actual true summit up that way, and over here is the false summit. But nonetheless, I see people up there. That's the one thing I like about doing something new. There's always a little bit of an adventure involved. On a hot day though, you want to make sure that you're really hydrated, because you are out in the open, as you can see. Okay, so that is a false summit up there. So I've got a little ways to go. I'm making do 3¼ miles in. And the true summit is tucked in behind that. So we'll see how I feel. False summit would be a good objective, but I'm really feeling adventurous and confident, then I might do a little scramble. We'll see how it goes. If you really want to make this a full day, there's another peak over there that I believe people climb up. Lots of lakes down there. I think there's even some camping. But on a hot day, those lakes would be super refreshing. And especially if they're not that deep, after a few hot days in the summer, they're probably not super cold either, but just cold enough to be refreshing. And there is the false summit. I see people up there. So yeah, this is a junction that I believe, if you go straight and down this way, yeah, so the trail goes down that way, and that's how you get to some campsites and some lakes. All right, let's do this. Now I'm wondering if that's the true summit or that way. So there's the false summit. I was down there a little bit earlier. More of those lakes. All right, let's see how it goes up here. With any good hike, the last part is always going to be the most difficult and sometimes the steepest. Oh yeah. I just came up from. That's a quick way to gain vertical, that's for sure. And the views are starting to come into play. All right, almost there. Oh yeah. Here's a little bit of exposure for you. All right. Looks like I'm almost there, but sometimes you gotta just not think ahead, because there can often be a hidden peak above the one that you see. So that's why you kind of want to pace yourself. All right, looks like I have reached the falls summit. Woo! Here's to the falls summit. And I was down there about a half hour ago, so not bad. Hour 35 minutes from the parking lot. Yeah. Woo, yeah. I'm gonna see how I feel. I'm gonna press on, because that's the next peak over. That's the true summit. So see how it is, see how this trail is, and hopefully I can do this. That's a false summit accomplished. Now see how well I do on the next objective. So it looks like there's a little exposure on the trail getting to that. So I'm just going to show it to you from here. And then I'm going to go ahead and use some caution through here and see if I can get across. So there's a false summit. I've made my way across this traverse. And there are a couple sections that were a little dicey. But that's just my experience. For some others, that'd be cakewalk. But this trail does sit on a ridge. One side's not too bad. The other, well, let's just say you wouldn't want to go off in this direction to my right. Otherwise, there would be a little bit of a tumble involved. And it would not make for a very good day. Now, it may not seem like much, but I believe there's some serious exposure on the other side. And I'm not so good when it comes to dealing with exposure. But we'll see how it goes. See how the footing is. That's the main thing. That's the biggest thing, is making sure I've got good footing. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, I'm not a big, I'll see. I'm not a big fan of this loose dirt. I much prefer the rocky sections. But it's really not that, I mean, okay, so this is not too bad, but then again, I'm kind of a pansy when it comes to this stuff, so. Okay, so that's where it gets exposed. Yeah, because hey, I might have to see if there's a different way. Yeah, see, that's what's gonna get me, because yeah, right. That's my trajectory is right off that, and it's loose. But you know, I just have to. You know, if I don't make it to the top, well. Sometimes you just gotta go with what you're comfortable with. Yeah, there was another way. Sometimes that's part of the adventure, though. Sometimes you can find there are multiple ways to get up. So I'm gonna be on my behind going down this. So right now, this is not so bad. I mean, this is, yeah, it's loose dirt. But my trajectory is not, you know, it's not going to be the end of the world if I were to slip here, because my trajectory is taking me down that direction. But right over in that section, yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay. Oh, see, that's the other thing too, is you gotta watch for rock that's gonna move on you. Okay, so this is, alright, so this is much. Okay, let's take a little breather here. Okay. Okay, so this is not... a little bit of what I like to call veggie belaying. Veggie belaying is a very good thing sometimes because it can help pull you up the slope. And it's what I'll use to pull me down. Veggie belaying. Oh, yep, just grab onto the tree. And that will be my anchor on the way down. I'm gonna admit, this is definitely getting my heart going. And I did it. Wow. Yellow Aster Butte. True summit. Woo! Not the most gracious way, but now I'll have to do that again. Once I get to a safe spot, then I can really truly celebrate, because I've still got to get myself back down. You get up, but then there's always the harder part, getting back down. So here it is, the summit of Yellow Aster Butte. Woo! Well, I'm off from the peak, and now I'm just making my way down this part of the trail, about to retrieve my pack. I'm glad I ditched my pack, because the down climb would have been a lot harder with having to worry about my pack getting caught on roots and pitching me forward. But pretty much from here on out, I'm good. So once I get back to the false summit, I'll kind of give a quick wrap up. And what a day, what a way to end July 2025. Well, I'm back on the false summit of Yellow Aster Butte, and I have made it. There's Border Peak in the background. Canada is right there. Just a jaunt away from the Canadian border. But hope you enjoyed my hike up Yellow Aster Butte. It was definitely interesting at times, but stay tuned for more adventures from Donnelly.